Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Business Growth Playbook. I am Jeff Evans here with my partner, Dean Nolley. Dean, how are we doing today?
Hey, we're doing great, Jeff. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, we are in separate locations today due to some conflicting schedules, but we still wanted to get this episode recorded and done because we have an amazing guest with us today. His name is Ben Victorica. Ben is the Senior Vice President for KnowledgeNet.ai. If you don't know this platform, you are missing out, and you are definitely going to learn about it today. It's a phenomenal platform, something that I'm really excited about. Obviously, Dean is beyond excited about. He's going to kind of lead this conversation in more detail today because of his actual involvement with this group. But Ben, welcome to the show, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into KnowledgeNet.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my name's Ben Victorica. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm SVP for KnowledgeNet. I've been with our owner and founder and our CRO for 15 years now. We built a company to 300 people that we sold to Nuance. Nuance is a large software company that helps customers in healthcare. And so we were very focused in AI there, helping hospital systems leverage AI to help doctors with their clinical documentation. What I'm excited about is in the past, these billion-dollar companies were the only ones that could leverage AI. And now AI has been democratized where anyone can leverage it, from a solopreneur to an enterprise customer. And so I partner with Dean to help his clients build the top of funnel and get new business.
Awesome. That's great. Dean, why don't you take it away with your question barrage?
Yeah, I'll try to be brief so we can get over to Ben. Dean Nolley. I call myself a sales growth architect, founder of Sales Growth Imagination. Have a number of toolkits that I help customers either rebuild or build their sales processes. But what has evolved over the last year with so many of my clients is it's more around building out their go-to-market strategy and or rebuilding. So many companies are trying to transform. So in one sense, you're trying to help people repair and rebuild to get it stable, then sustainable. But ultimately, it's all around how do we help companies scale? And I can tell you the one area that most companies are struggling with is how do I go get new logos? And everything I'm about building is I'm helping clients go beat their competitors in accounts where they're doing a good job. So the key is how do we win and enable our customers to beat their competitors in accounts where they are doing a great job for them. So that being said, most companies are saying, how do I grow my business? How do I find new customers? And today we're going to go through a series of areas, but most notably, KnowledgeNet is in more than 20 of my customers today. There won't be another client that I onboard that won't be on KnowledgeNet. Because if there's one thing that helps me be valuable, it's helping clients more easily find new customers. And some of the things you're going to hear today about isolating on the ICP, things people don't think about. I mean, where do you win the most? Where do you lose the most? Where do you make the most money? And most importantly is where you're winning the most, is that where you make the most money? Well, some of the things you're going to hear today is we start isolating around the ICP and some of the pain points around intent and or synergy. You're going to hear some really exciting things. We'll talk to some examples, but I think most notably is some of the things that KnowledgeNet has done to respond. And what I mean by that is there's an unbelievable life that every one of my clients is on that helps people better find and see a connection path. And we will talk to some examples that absolutely you're going, there's no way this is real. This has to be an anomaly. It has to be a coincidence. Well, we're going to walk through some personally that's enabled me to help clients significantly. But what KnowledgeNet has come to bear is these companies want to accelerate quicker than we were prepared to do. So the way we can do that is take KnowledgeNet and build it into a services offering to where KnowledgeNet is doing that for my clients. And that has been a game changer. And that's the part, Ben, I would really like to hear, more about that history and how KnowledgeNet came to this conclusion. Because right now, as Ben knows, I'm wearing him out. There is not one client that hasn't seen KnowledgeNet that is saying, how can I sign up? How can I ACH your money? Okay, credit card is fine. And this isn't a sales pitch. This is a reaction because it is absolutely the hottest tool I work with. And it's simple. We're helping companies find new clients. And that's a game changer.
Yeah, so that's our origin story, really. As I was saying before in the introduction, that I've been with our CEO and founder for 15 years. We built a company to 300 people. We sold it to Nuance. We had private equity backing in that business. They said, what are you guys doing next? If you don't have something, we need help with this problem. And this was in 2016. How do we get to owners and founders of companies so we can build relationships with them and acquire them? That's a private equity play. Sounds like a sales problem where customers are looking to find ways to be introduced to customers and no longer have to wait for a referral. So we built that and we call it relationship intelligence. That relationship intelligence is built on the knowledge that is gained from sharing the metadata of emails, meetings, and LinkedIn profiles. So if you have a team of 5 people or if you have a team of 50 people, if you had one brain that could see all the interactions that you've had on LinkedIn and email and meetings, and then you identify a prospect that meets your ideal customer profile, like Dean was talking about, more people that are profitable that you want to sell to, wouldn't it be amazing if you could see who in your combined brains network could introduce you to those people? So it's not just like LinkedIn alone. There's more email exchanges that we associate to LinkedIn profiles. And so the first step of seeing who do we know, that could be that there's been emails and meetings and LinkedIn with who you know. Who do they know and why? It could be stories that you're going to hear related to Dean's approach with the people worked at the same job before. They're currently connected on LinkedIn. They went to the same university, an alma mater type play. All these different signals as to how are people connected. And KnowledgeNet, we call those connection paths, will show you those examples, the stories for each person. And if you click a button, it'll package up that story and ask for a referral. I'm trying to get to Dan. The way that you know Dan is this way. The way you and I know each other is this way. Do you know Dan well enough that you could make an introduction? And that's where we use the licenses for KnowledgeNet. As Dean said, 20 of his customers are using that. And then we do the same approach at scale where we have a service called AI Engage, we'll talk to in a little bit, that does that outreach for you, doing that deep research on every potential person, leveraging all of your super connectors and your ICP, and prioritizing to do outreach to 500 people per month. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
Well, and Ben, I think to speak to, the extension that sits on, the laptop in my environment, I use it personally. And what I think people, when they start to use KnowledgeNet, they get excited for different reasons. And I think as we get to the services part, the critical part is KnowledgeNet enabling the clients to use it to its fullest potential. But, some of the things you can do anytime I'm on LinkedIn, the extension is there and it's given me almost an unfair advantage to try to nurture and build a meaningful relationship. And what I mean by that is this. You can do things that you're going, well, that's nice to have, like download an email address that, or multiple. Some people use a personal or a business. download a cell phone, as an example. I can go in, and I have clients using this. I've used it myself. You have a very important meeting you're going to do. You finally have that connection. Well, I can do a disc profile on the fly with Crystal Knows that's built in and a part of KnowledgeNet. And let me tell you, I go right to the summary because it's great detail. I want to know the do's and don'ts. So it'll tell some people, hey, they really are looking to build a relationship. So in that case, it's okay for Dean to be Dean, which is I'm chatty, right? Unfortunately. But at the same time, there's others, be very precise, detailed. Do not try to take it to the personal level. They want facts and they want to get right to the point. And that was really important to me because it helps me kind of curtail what would be my natural approach. But that part in itself, while that's nice to have and really cool, the part I've enjoyed the most is the ability to look at the connection path. And this can be of people that are other decision makers in a current company I'm trying to expand, but it's generally where I am trying to get to someone to get connected. And let me give you an example. Ben knows this story. I was on with the client, and it's a $2 billion company. The SVP of sales, who I personally knew from multiple companies over time, had me on with their general manager. And he said, Dean, they're in the packaging world. They sell to packaging. And he said, why don't you show Matt how you would work this? He said, I want to give you the number one prospect that won't even say hello. They won't answer a phone. They have us blocked at their admin or receptionist. There's no response to anything. And I'm like, well, Ken, I'm not in your business. So I can pull up mine, but I don't know that that's going to be a true reflection. So, and I'm like, I'm kind of texting my friend on the side to go, hey, you're really putting me in what I thought was going to be an uncomfortable position. I pull it up. I see the connection path. I'm like, whoa, I've got some pretty interesting paths here. And the very first one that was prioritized, it was in dark blue. I just start chuckling. I'm like, Steve Beecham in Alpharetta had introduced me. This is an active prospect of a owner in Alpharetta that I'm actually talking to now. I'm like, wow. Well, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Well, when you go and look at the details, it made a lot of sense. They had worked together previously for 10 years. I texted the gentleman. He said, oh, I could get you a meeting with him, no problem, or at least a conversation. Then I look up the next one, a gentleman that does what I do in Charlotte, North Carolina, is connected to him. I'm like, this doesn't make logical sense because I knew Paul, who you know, Ben, had moved from I think Ohio, if I recall correctly. And I knew the customer was showing Chicago. I reached out and texted Paul and said, hey, Paul, I'm just curious on this. And he started laughing. He said, they were really good friends of ours in Ohio before we moved. Matter of fact, our wives are like best friends. We could easily, he said, actually, my wife could get you the appointment for me, but yes, we could easily introduce you. Now, you would never logically think of that gentleman in Charlotte, who's a friend, being able to get me to someone in Chicago, but all of a sudden you realize the connection. But then as I look down, I start laughing. I go, wow, there's a gentleman at the bottom of the page. His name was Michael. And I went, wow, look at this. I can't believe it. This is unbelievable. Magic. The general manager cut me off and said, Dean, I think it's time for you to put your glasses on. The guy's name is Michael. And I said, well, at Pi Kappa Phi, at UNCC Charlotte, my fraternity brother, we called him Magic. And at my wedding, his name was still Magic. So I guess his real name is Michael. I had 3 connection paths to help them get to their number one opportunity in North America that they couldn't get boo out of. And I'm only saying that because it probably shocked me more than them at first. Well, I was telling Ben, matter of fact, they just went full services with KnowledgeNet. One of my other clients, actually one of the few that for some reason happened to be in Atlanta these days. And I'm looking with them, helping them with a company called Sodexo. And I look down and I'm looking at this gentleman. It's an important opportunity for him. I'm like, I only have 3 connections in the U.S. with this gentleman. He's like out in Dallas, Texas. And I look closer, I'm like, all 3 connections are fraternity brothers from Charlotte. Again, out of nowhere, I text one of them. They're like, hey, Dean, that gentleman, I didn't know the man, though. I'm like, how do I not know them? He said, well, Dean, he was in college about 8 years before you. So it's logical why you wouldn't have known him. And then he moved from North Carolina back to Texas. And I'm only saying that because it gives you data that can really help make a difference. Because at the end of the day, and as you guys know, I work closely with David Noor at Avner, and everything we talk about is that the R in CRM, meaning relationship, is the part that people first forget. And I think that part, Ben, is so important. And I would love you to elaborate more, because I know that you see this not just with Dean, you see this across the board. And I think you personally use this in your own business.
Yeah, it's been the core part of like our origin story, the relationship intelligence, because it cements, what's happened in the past, so you can accelerate and augment that more. But it also reflects of like where we are today, the things that people used to do to build their top of funnel and identify prospects and get lists from a list provider or contacts from a provider and do cold outreach, died in 2021. It was going through a slow death in 2021. And here we are 5 years beyond that. And it's still the main thing that customers do. And they're frustrated because they can't build their top of funnel that way. AI has made that complicated because every email people think is a bot and not a real person. So they don't acknowledge those. The reason that I say that cold calling died in 2021 is for the 3 years prior, Bank of America did a study on cold calling versus referral-based selling and then banned their Merrill Lynch brokers. I have the Wall Street Journal article if anybody wants to see that. Banned their Merrill Street brokers from ever doing cold calling again. It was a waste of time, a waste of money, and proved ineffective. Again, that's 5 years ago, but people are still doing that approach. And I say cold calling is dead, relationship selling instead. And by using KnowledgeNet or any other tool that you can find that provides this, it's inverting the referral process. Instead of waiting for a referral, you can identify all of the people that meet your ICP and then see the paths of how can you be introduced. And that's sort of a game changer. Most customers that have grown by referral are saying my referrals, I did everything at the beginning, but after 3 years, it's kind of dried up. Well, now you can reactivate it because all of the referrals that you used to get, you still can get. KnowledgeNet will show you the thousands of people that each one of your maybe LinkedIn connections can connect you with. In fact, with KnowledgeNet, you can download the first 1,000 second-degree connections of your first degree automatically. We even enrich it with firmographic information and emails if we've seen those people before. So now you have a one-to-many. Do that 10 times, you have 10 people that could introduce you to 10,000 people. Of course, you have to see which of those meet your ICP and which of those do those 10 people know. So you can make a short list. Let's say it boils down, it's 100 per person. Then you have a meeting with that referral partner of yours or customer of yours and say, I was looking through your network. I've identified with hard work 100 people that meet my ideal customer profile. Could you please tell me which ones of these do you know well enough that you can make an introduction? And that is the game changer that takes you to that that kind of last mile of inverting the referral process, taking the, I like the expression, don't wait for your ship to come in, swim out and meet it. This is where you're swimming out to your opportunities and building life rafts that accompany you with your referral network that could make an introduction. I was pretty good at all that last part.
That was awesome.
That was very good.
That's a short right there, I promise.
But the other part, so many of the client, they all use it strategically. But, as you know, one of my first customers that was not in Georgia, Mike Matalone, what a wonderful guy there with XP3 Talent. Jeff, I think you've met him as well. One of the things that it was cool for me as a thank you for all the hard work that I did, Ben was a part of it. He actually flew to Atlanta and got on a podcast with Jeff and I to talk about his company, his new book, the experience with how we helped him grow. And Mike was one of the early adapters to the services approach, where most people are going, I'm not going to make that investment. They wanted to do it more strategically. And what I quickly saw and learned from Ben and KnowledgeNet and watched it occur, it wasn't just isolating to the ICP. We were redefining the ideal customer profile, meaning what are the pain points? And in their world, they were in a world where they hire, train, develop, and retain. So they're in the commercial construction business. They're hiring people like helping companies hire like project manager, pre-construction manager, architect, engineer, supervisor, superintendent. So they're either critical revenue-bearing roles or leadership roles, both critical. Well, what they knew in their business, because they had been in commercial building as well, still are, was that at 75 days of a job posting, you probably also spent maybe 45 days getting it prepared, approved, and out, that people are in pain. So Mike's like, I need to find those. So we went out with KnowledgeNet with signals on websites of commercial construction in the Mid-Atlantic, Northeast, in the public domain. It could have been recruiters. It could have been different recruiting boards, but to try to find those, because Mike knew they were in pain. So immediately there was value. But the other thing that I learned quickly was, what about synergy? And I'm like, I don't understand. I mean, I understand what synergy is. And in that world, Mike was smart enough to know, because they operated on EOS, that 30% of the commercial construction companies, whether they self-implemented, did it online with the new EOS course, or with an implementer, 30% of them ran their business on EOS. So Mike's like, Ben, we need to find a synergy and find EOS. Well, you start thinking in the public domain, the logos on the websites. There could be a blog about their success with EOS. It could be an EOS implementer. A lot of times, I think you both see them. I do regularly. Of the, I think, 22 implementers in Georgia, they're doing a quarterly health check. They're doing an annual. They're taking a picture of their customer. There's so many different, and that's on LinkedIn with an article. So you're able to find a lot of information. Well, Mike knew that since they operated on Traction's people principles and everything was built around it, if he could find those particular commercial construction companies, he had an unfair advantage to have a conversation. And, but he was an earlier adapter. But now I've seen a paradigm, Ben, and I'm really interested in hearing more on this. I don't have any prospect or any customer that's doing anything but turnkeyed services with KnowledgeNet and Sales Growth Imagination. They're clearly using the license strategically, but that's very exciting to me, because I'm finding I'm able to help accelerate revenue and new customers quicker to delight my companies and my customers. So I'd love to understand the paradigm and the shift and how this developed, because right now it is by far the most engaged tool that my clients are embracing of anything I do?
Yeah, so remember I was talking about how when cold calling died in 2021, things started to emerge very quickly, especially kind of at the same time where ChatGPT and AI was starting to kind of start hitting the hockey stick from emerging. Of course, developers knew about ChatGPT for 15 years, and Watson beat the Master Chef in 1984. So AI has been around for 30 years, but it really started to accelerate in the last five. The HubSpot, for example, CEO in their last kind of State of the Union type of address said more has changed in the last year than the previous 30 years combined.
I'd agree with that.
And
Yep.
so that's when the email outreach, getting a list and doing email and getting some sort of percent opens and some sort of percent of people that were interested in having a conversation really collapsed completely. And what emerged was a lot of different point solutions to solve like one step of the problem. And over time, that has developed where today there are 15,000 point solutions, software applications for sales and marketing in 49 different categories. So a $50 million company and up has the team of people, AI engineers, workflow specialists, project managers, marketing department, sales enablement teams that are able to stitch together these different applications and pull the levers that are required in order to get some past the noise and start making some impact in their top of funnel. But I like working with the customers that are under 50 million, maybe under even 25 million from a solopreneur on up, because they don't have the team of people that cost, fractionally about 20,000 a month for them to focus on this. And they don't have the 15 or 20 different tech stack of software that costs somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 a month to put money at, building their top of funnel. And so that's where over the years we've developed AI Engage. It's a turnkey outbound prospecting service that's run by our project managers. We leverage all of the 15 plus tech stack items that are required. Our project managers do all of the work. The customer we work with to get, understand their business and understand the things that they've been effective with outreach. We collaborate and share the best practices. Then we do outreach as them at scale wherever their prospects live. Mm-hmm. We prioritize 500 customers out of the tens of thousands of possibilities of the addressable market for them. Which ones is now the right time and is it the right person? And the way we accomplish that is by building agentic systems that do deep research on every prospect and scores every prospect against their ideal customer profile. And then we prioritize the first 500 for, let's say, next month to do the outreach to them. And we do the outreach as them, as the business owner. We like actually leading from the top. The sales team can work in our system to see when customers lean in. But when you do the outreach as the CEO, when you do the outreach as the business owner, it's more effective because you're working top to top and you're leading with thought leadership and providing value, not what you see. We all experience this. Someone says, "Can I connect with you?" 5 minutes after connecting, "Can we have a meeting?"
Yeah.
It doesn't work at all. Yeah. So it has to be a contextual connection. So we leverage their network to identify people that they're 1 degree of separation away. And when we do the contextual connection, it's something like, "I'm reaching out to you today because we have a lot of peers in common, including this person." The one that, like Dean said, the algorithm shows who the potential, here's the best person. And when that person now is worried about making connections and they worry about email bots, they do back research on you. And we're doing the LinkedIn outreach as you. They're like, "Oh, this is a person and it's credible. And we are connected to some people." Yeah. So then they accept that connection request 30% of the time, 25 to 30%. Once they're connected, then we can message to them. a thoughtful in a thoughtful way. First, thank you for connecting. And then you lay low for a while. Then a golden drop, some sort of value and insight you provide them. Then you continue with thought leadership. We can add videos like snippets that you see, like Dean does a great job making videos about himself, working with Jeff that can make those snippets even out of this kind of podcast. And then he could post them on LinkedIn, and Jeff helps people create that so that it's you can absorb it. It's short. Maybe there's words kind of come in while people are talking. Anyway, that adds to authenticity in the outreach. We also include dropping a voicemail. So the CEO just has to make one recording. We put it in the sequence. Hey, I'm trying to reach you. We're all going to be going to this conference together. I'd like to meet with you while we're at the conference. And so kindly reply to my outreach. Let's schedule a time when we're at MDM in LA for medical device, making, or whatever the topic is. We help customers with this approach with conference prep. But back to where the meat of this application is prioritizing every month 500 to do outreach that meet the ICP and automate that process. And we charge $1,000 a month. So a fraction of what a SDR would cost, and it does the work of 5 SDRs because we're doing all of the identification, prioritization, hyper personalization, and doing the outreach as you.
That's amazing. Now, because people are going to ask, obviously, with automation tools and LinkedIn profiles being banned in the past from using some of this stuff, that's not at all what this is.
No, because it's the way I was describing it is as if the CEO spent months identifying the right prospect and then hours crafting the right message and doing it for one person. That's where we could do it at scale for 500 people. But when we do the outreach, it's just one at a time. So only a few per day stays all between the guidelines of LinkedIn. And so the people respond to that, and it's very effective. It's really just force multiplying 500-fold what an individual does, personally.
That is so important these days. Absolutely, just a game changer for outbound. And it's not the AI SDRs that we're all seeing in our LinkedIn InMail these days, which is driving me nuts, and others within the LinkedIn ecosphere. But this is cool. I really like the program and what you have there. Dean, you got some?
Yeah, I was going to say the most important part, other than my beautiful face, it's Jeff Evans doing all the work of the shorts, and thank God he can, because I talk too much. So he helps bring me into a better perspective. But one of the things I'd love you to elaborate, and I know we can't say industry, we can't say my customer's name, because we're in a very active engagement. But let's talk about an unfair advantage with this opportunity that we're working on now, where we're helping a client find the customers of a competitor that they know this particular competitor was bought by private equity, a lot of leadership change, a huge disruption in their sales organization. So the people that bought from this company no longer dealing with the same sales professional, and they have other service delivery issues. So we were challenged, and thank God Ben was on, to say, hey, how can you help me accelerate to find this? And I'd like you to expand a little bit on the followers to the company on the website and or LinkedIn, Ben, because that was incredible what I saw unravel in front of me in terms of opportunity. And I'll say what is evolving because of that in a minute, but I'd like you to talk to that piece, because that was game changing or for me to help a client, but it's going to be absolutely game changing for them because they're accelerating their growth in multiple markets because of it.
And so earlier I was talking about AI Engage and the process that we go through. The ultimate aspect of AI Engage is to help our customers find the right person, the right time, and the right message. So the right time is something that we focus on a lot related to intent, finding people where the timing is right to reach out to them. And it is a little bit sometimes the combination of the right person, but let me share a couple of examples. So if a customer is a fractional COO, we're helping them review all of the job boards and all of the postings, looking for people that are posting about needing a COO, an operations manager or operations officer. So we're able to identify all of the companies that are looking to hire a COO in the particular industry that the customer wants that matches the ICP that they're looking for. So let's say there's 8,000 of those potential ones. We find and identify the ones that we would do prioritization for reach out next month. The end result is right person, right time, right message, because the timing is right. They're looking for a COO. So they're inserting themselves in the conversation and saying, while you're looking for a COO, I provide fractional COO services, and I'd be happy to partner with you in the short term, the near term, and the midterm until you find someone that you're looking for. They get in that seat, and then they can land and expand. That is good intent. Another intent, what Dean was talking about, is who's following a trade show organization, a competitor, a technology that you are reselling as a customer. I can unlock who all the followers are of that LinkedIn company and then run all of the followers through your ICP, which we create a rubric. A rubric is where we assign numbers to each category of your ICP. We work with you on what that prioritization is, and we can score all those people from 1 to 100. And then you set the threshold. I only want to talk to people that meet 70 or above. So that's how we prioritize them. But I can unlock followers of any company's LinkedIn profile and redirect the conversation to you so you can kind of interject yourself into that stream. If they're going to a conference, they're interested in the conference material. If they're working with your competitor, then you can redirect them to you. And if they're working with a technology, let's say I have a company in Fort Mill, South Carolina, right outside of Charlotte. They make sensors that go on OEM equipment. They target the OEM presidents and CEOs because the equipment is a commodity. If they make it the Internet of Things type approach with sensors on it, now it's unique and it can help water treatment plants, manufacturing organizations that want to have the sensor done, because the antithesis of that is let the machine run until it dies. But then you have a big problem when it does die. If you can get ahead of that, it adds value. So being able to see who are all the customers that follow that OEM lets them go to those customers and say, we can provide sensors on it and do the pull push. They can go back to the OEMs and say, these customers want this. You can add it onto your next order.
Wow.
Well, and the one client, and I wish I could provide more detail now, and I can't, but what they saw were all the possibilities of what Ben's just said in aggregate. As a result of that, I was giving news on Friday. They're accelerating the hire of 2 account managers. They're promoting another gentleman to a manager. And we're now perfecting what I'm going to call the knowledge net, or the customer brain. And it's all of the things Ben's talking about, all of their product services, what their strengths are, the competitors they're targeting. It's really all of that intent around the ICP, because we're going to be able to align that brain, and we're going to perfect 2 markets up front. Once we do that, this particular company operates through 54 different brands, if you will, or entities, but across 140 different geographies in the US and Canada. So we're able to in effect, have a repeatable process. We could say cookie cutter, but I like more a predictable outcome. And that allows this company to accelerate. But then I got a call this week. They're even now saying, we think we're ready to maybe accelerate expansion into EMEA. So all of this is occurring because of conversations about how can we help someone accelerate growth. And right now, my last 3 clients and the next 2 I'm onboarding, my whole role has changed. It's about go-to-market strategy, accelerate growth, and everything I'm doing, I can't keep up with it, as Ben knows. I mean, my wife's not real happy, but I was just in a group this morning with an exit planner, and he's like, do you stay up every night to 1 o'clock? And I'm like, unfortunately, right now, my bedtime on average is 1:25 in the morning. I said, that's going to change, but I'm working on all of my customer deliverables and customers already onboarding and committing for April and May. I didn't say March. I'm already factored that in, but it is really changing dynamically my role, because now I'm really doing something quite different than just helping people fix things and stabilize. This is all around transforming growth. And I do mean, as Ben knows, there are 2 different clients now, 2 onboarding. We're transforming their companies. We're adding new products, new services lines into their business, and dynamic. Sometimes it's complementary. In one case, it's a totally new business. It's a new vertical altogether. And I think, Ben, you don't know this one yet, but you'll remember my good friend, Sean Donahue. I've onboarded them this week. And what is really getting fun is, and by the way, Jeff Evans and I were introduced from Sean. I think you were both in Provisors, correct?
Yeah. So Provisors to a LinkedIn connection. Sean doesn't even live in Atlanta, and he, got me connected with Dean, who lives 10 minutes down the road from me, which was crazy.
It's comical. But here's what's interesting is the synergy between what we're doing here with ICP. It helps my clients really think more clearly around really getting laser focused. And then we challenge it. So when I'm like booking, this is like a playbook in action now. If you went to the table of contents and looked at the table of contents, it is the 5-year growth plan for the company with details around go-to-market in each aspect. The level of detail around ideal customer profile has been redefined in that due to the front end of what we're doing with KnowledgeNet. Now with Sean, it's in reverse. He can do a playbook, and he knows how to do that as well as me. He knows the resources. Fortunately, he's hired my services. So in that case, we're going to be able to take details that we're building out, and we're bringing that to Ben, and we're accelerating growth and opportunity for expansion. So I look at it all tied together because we're helping find clients. We're getting more laser focused on business. We're defining new markets off of this that could be complementary or could be an entirely different company in one case, as Ben knows about. And this is all coming together, and you're talking about having some fun other than some late nights and early mornings. But it's kind of hard to complain because everything I do between my toolkits with SX and Avner and other partners, it's all coming together, and it's exciting what we're doing for these clients. And, so Ben, I think the part that, he has to kind of slow me down, but tell them about the number of hours. I'm just one guy. Now I'm wearing him out, I can tell you, but my prospects and clients are wearing me out, but it's all good. It's about helping them, and we're all winning together. But the challenge with Ben, I've learned, normally our prep meetings or initial call is 6:30, 7 in the morning.
That's a good problem to have. So I'm an early riser, And, it's a matter of just getting started with the day. I do have, I eat my own dog food where we have AI engaged for ourselves. And so I have a full calendar all the time. Every 30 minutes, I run 12 to 15 meetings per day.
That's where I was going with that. I have to meet with them early. Now, fortunately, I bet Ben has been in front of probably, just in the last 6 weeks since the sales acceleration launch of some of the services or expansion, probably 20 of my prospects and clients. Maybe it's more than that. So I'm smart enough to know I have to plan ahead with Ben. But when you start getting every person signing up and engaging and starting to onboard, that's a whole different dynamic. It's positive. It's exciting. But Ben is doing that with a lot of deans, if you will, is the best way to say it.
I have a lot of support. We have a great company behind us and a lot of different areas from AI engineers, customer support, salespeople, et cetera, which leads me kind of to one of the final topics. I know we're getting close on time. Growth is great. Customers, CEOs are very excited about growth, but then they sometimes come to us and say, well, I can't grow too fast because I have an inventory management problem, or I can't grow too fast because I have a manufacturing scheduling problem, or the sales team is killing our bid desk because we can't handle all of the proposals. We need automation. So we build agentic systems that provide automations for customers in all sorts of departments, from inventory management to manufacturing scheduling to proposal writing to call centers. We can create agentic AI agents that are inbound, that are as good as a call center person that's taking an order over the phone. It could just talk to someone. The technology is evolving extremely fast, and it's a great way to scale. My approach is always to help customers scale without having to add more headcount.
Are those custom developments then?
They are custom developments. That is correct.
Okay, awesome.
Well, and Jeff, that's a great question because you actually have met with this customer yourself, but we're getting ready to help them explode their business because there are verticals they're not in today. There are channel partners that we now have those secured agreements. There's large entities that we're helping them get into. And what he just said is, I'm 100% confident that the number one challenge this client will have is they're going to have to expand their manufacturing space significantly, the entire supply chain process. So that also puts me in a position of being a true business. I mean, I am really at that point a business coach because now I'm touching things that are outside of sales. That is not normally where I would operate, but those business owners and leaders are counting on me to help them because it makes it easier for them because we're growing. Now we're helping them control that growth to Ben's case, and we're not creating new challenges. But that has been quite different for me. But we can already see that in at least 3 of my customers that are on services with Ben. One of them, I'm not sure I'm going to keep up with them. It's going to be tough to keep up with how many people we're going to need to hire to complement what we're doing here because they're going to go into new markets where they don't have resources today that they need to help build those relationships. So, extremely exciting. I do hope, Ben, I'll eventually get enough people in my own company to where I can maybe get a little more sleep. That would be kind of nice. But if you're not sleeping, this is a great reason not to.
Yeah, I want to go back to one thing, Ben, too, just so the listeners, watchers are clear. When you're doing the Engage program itself, is there a customer facing like UI where they can like software they can log in, and that way the CEO is not getting bombarded by all these messages, but they can be dispersed to the sales reps?
Yes, thank you very much for bringing that up. So the part of the AI Engage platform includes a centralized inbox. So if it's multi-channel and multiple people, maybe we're leveraging 3 different link profiles, and we're doing LinkedIn for all 3, email campaigns for all 3, et cetera. There's one inbox. And in that inbox, when we're leveraging the C-suite, someone can respond as them and they don't need access to their LinkedIn profile. So they can represent the CEO, leverage the CEO for outreach, but then represent the CEO when that handoff occurs, put a message that says, thank you for your interest. I'm going to have my sales team reach out to you, or here's a link to their calendar, and they hit send, and it goes back out through the CEO's LinkedIn profile right directly to that prospect that was leaning in.
That's genius. I love that. I'm excited.
And there's one other part that will blow you away. Because of the groundswell of opportunities across the country, at any time when I have probably
Hold on,
23
Dean,
clients.
you somehow, some reason it kind of got garbled. It stopped. You had to say that again about, with your across the country.
Yeah, just pause for
All right. When you start looking across the country, one of the most powerful parts, there are so many use cases. There's not an industry that we can't bring a use case forward, which is most important because a lot of times you hear solutions and people are trying to get you excited. And then when you say, well, hey, how can I talk to a customer? How can I see a use case? And I can give you an example. I probably have more customers on KnowledgeNet than most people that do what I do. I'm definitely in a very top tier. However, I just ran into one where for aggressive growth in manufacturing, I did not have the exact best use case. Ben was able to connect me with a person that does what I do in a different part of the country that has an unbelievable use case with manufacturing. That client was instrumental and went and met with my client and walked through how they're using it. Ben then got a call saying, it was unbelievable. It's like, hey, how quickly, the person wanted to know how quickly can I start? And literally wanted to know, how do I ACH you money immediately to get started? That is so powerful because they expect me in a lot of cases, or even Ben potentially, they're excited, but we're sales guys. That's what we do. I help companies grow sales. So yes, I'm going to be a sales guy. When they can talk to another customer and or someone that's using it, or they can see it, dynamically changes the credibility and the trust. And ultimately it comes back to that trust factor, because what we're telling people and showing them, most people are saying, this is kind of hard to believe. How could this come out of nowhere? But it's here. And I can tell you, I mean, it is absolutely my go-to game changer. And Jeff, as you know, when I take KnowledgeNet and Ben and what we're doing, the services, we now are getting these clients. I'm now pairing this up with Sales Hub HQ with Dimitri, as you know. And Dimitri has built the workflow into my CRM. I use it personally, but my clients I have several clients going onboarding with Sales Hub HQ. He's built the workflow. So as these clients come in, the salespeople we're touching and qualifying, a similar workflow is built in to make sure the salespeople have automated follow-up. And Dimitri saw that from KnowledgeNet in a sense. So now he's kind of enabling the CRM to continue to say, how do we go back and touch all these prospects? Because the problem we have, KnowledgeNet is creating so many good opportunities that it's challenging the salespeople I help hire or help develop with my clients. They have to keep up with a much larger number of opportunities. What a great problem, right? Well, now Dimitri's helped satisfy that part, which is just, again, helping my clients close more of these great warm and hot opportunities that KnowledgeNet is helping us develop. So it's a great way for me to leverage multiple partners together to help my clients.
Yeah, but I will say this, Ben. I don't think there's a larger evangelist for KnowledgeNet than Dean. Every single conversation we have, he's name dropping you, and he's name dropping KnowledgeNet. He is a cheerleader for life, I would imagine at this point. And after what I've heard today, I'm definitely interested in learning more as well for my clients, because I'm doing a lot with financial advisors and a lot of YouTube and stuff like that and LinkedIn video, but being able to get them access to better clientele through LinkedIn would be amazing as well. So let's go ahead and wrap up the episode because we're pushing the hour mark here. But Ben, is there anything that you want to kind of say before we wrap up?
No, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the audience members that were listening and participating. Dean, thank you for the opportunity, and Jeff for the outstanding coordination and being our host.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on, and this will be a good one to edit. There's a lot of great content in there that we'll be able to splice out and get over to you as well. Dean, any parting words?
Yes, I'm sure a lot of people are ready to go, hey, what's the 800 number? But in this case, they can reach me at dean@salesgrowthimagination.com. And they can also check out a wonderful website, salesgrowthimagination.com, that a friend and a great partner by the name of Jeff Evans from Vincent Creative actually built for me. So thank you, Jeff. I'm getting a lot of play from that. And or if you aren't that patient, your cell phone is 404-307-1841. And now you can tell why I don't sleep as much as I should.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ben, of course, how can people reach KnowledgeNet to learn more about this amazing platform?
Thanks. So my email is ben.victorica@knowledgenet.ai. You can reach me there or through LinkedIn. Ben Victorica.
Okay. Awesome. Well, let's connect with them on LinkedIn, guys. Only if you can provide value. Otherwise, don't do that. But till next time, Jeff, Dean, thanks, Ben, for being on the show, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Hey, thanks,
Awesome.
guys. I appreciate both of your partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.